Good evening. I want to follow up with some more testing and demonstrations on the gyroscopic precession of propellers and mitigation of that impact on the airplane's flight characteristics. And so what you have here is I've made this little test piece right here, and what it is I've mounted a motor on a hinged block. This block is allowed to move, and it can move in one direction only, like this. And I put a little bit of a restraint on here, a rubber band, and I did that because what's happening with both this initial test propeller and the other propeller that I think is going to be a significant improvement in performance for mitigation of precession issues. Both of them when they're free, this hinge tips. And let me see if I can get this camera adjusted just a little better. This hinge tips whenever there's no resistance, and that's because even though the hinge on the propeller should eliminate the precession effects, the distance from the hub center line to the hinge point still causes a little bit of loads that transfer, and so we still get a little bit of moment generated in the propeller. And this test setup does a pretty good job of demonstrating how well that hinge can work. And so I'm gonna see if I can get this framed properly. It's kind of hard with the camera sitting on top of my head. But this is a 7.4 propeller that's on this motor here, and the F1C propeller here is 7.4, 7.3.5 thereabouts. And let me walk over here where there's a little clear space in my hangar. And you can see that if I do this, the propeller tilts. You know, if I'm simulating a control line airplane, that propeller definitely, this system definitely tips whenever I make a motion like this and when I stop. Okay, now, I went pretty fast, so I'm a little dizzy. If I do things like, if I take this and I move this in this direction like this would simulate a loop. If I do a for instance, an outside loop, it goes like this. We can see that propeller does this, and I can do some really crazy stuff like this, right? And when I do that, this propeller gyrates like crazy. You know, we can see when I move it, anytime I move, that propeller causes some significant gyrations, and hopefully I've managed to keep this in track the whole time. See, if I do this, it moves, right? So if I go 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, you can see I get a little bit of motion here with this propeller. That definitely can cause some trim effects on the airplane. This airplane right here, unfortunately, a different hub is not working on that, and I'm going to have to make a blade, a couple of blades to fit the hub to do the flight testing of the airplane. I've got about 3 steps planned, 3 further steps planned in this testing process. The ultimate goal is going to be really badass cool. The results right now are really promising. Now, what we're going to observe in this next test is a significantly reduced amount of precession, and that comes probably from 2 sources. And I don't know how much these blades weigh. I don't know how much these blades weigh. I'm guessing somewhere close to about the same. I don't know. I'm gonna cut one of these apart, and I'm gonna weigh that blade from this hinge point out to see. Ideally, if this hinge right here was right at the hub, we would probably see no precession effects whatsoever. because you know there's no moment that's transmitted from the blade into the hub. And if you go look at the teetering hinge of the Bell helicopter tail rotor, that tail rotor really doesn't see much load. It's booted up. Here, hold my beer. Yeah. So I'm gonna get this propeller sitting out just a little bit like this, so that when it starts, it doesn't mix up. So the first thing you notice is that the precession of this propeller is quite reduced compared to the other one. I have to really accelerate hard to see any kind of impact to this propeller. I have to go really fast. Same thing like this. When I do this, this propeller hardly gyrates any way, shape, or form. Definitely very different in response than the other one. Now I can really go and I get a little bit of response. I really have to spin hard to get much response from that propeller in terms of precession. So what that means is that this hinge in the propeller definitely works towards reducing the precession and the moments that are transmitted into the hub. And let me put this back the other way, and we'll go an ABA test, and you will see that I really had to wind up hard to get any kind of action out of that propeller. The closer to the hub we make this hinge, the harder we're going to have to go to get any response, and the better and better that propeller works. In production, you know, there's probably some ways that we can really get this to work really well. You know, like this hub would be very small, and maybe the yoke would be part of the propeller. I don't know. There's a lot of ways that you can look at doing this and getting good results. So doing all this moving around, it's yeah, look at my garbage pile out there. That's the wall of shame. You know, those are pieces from fuel tanks that I made for the 4-quarter airplane that just didn't work out right. You know, we got some jets. The yellow jet right there ran at 201 and landed in the process of doing the backup flight. So here's this other propeller, and you can see that just right out of the gate, not very fast, I'm getting responses from this propeller. A lot, right? And if I get going as fast as I had the other one, there's a lot of response. See, just very little. When I'm doing this, you know, this is pretty fast. We're not going to fly our stunt planes that fast, but you know, you got a bigger propeller and that kind of business. I do this. See, there's definitely a response whenever I do that maneuver, right? And when I do this, there's lots of gyrations in this handle along this axis right here. When I go around, I'm getting motion in this direction, and it's very noticeable compared to the other one. And if I really try to swing it hard, you notice it moves way off axis when I'm swinging. And that's from the precession of this propeller moving around. So ABA, propeller number A, or letter A, propeller A, is definitely a harder propeller to move, and definitely suffers from gyroscopic precession. So this is this particular experiment, and this blade right here says yes, we need to move on in experimenting, and this is the next step here. This is a 10.5 that I started whittling on to make a mold from. I'm waiting for my epoxy to arrive. It'll be here at the end of the week. And when that epoxy arrives, hopefully this will be a mold piece, and that mold will be ready to start, or at least the mold form will be ready to start casting propeller pieces from. And by the end of next week, I'll have a propeller that is really in the arena, suitable for our testing for the control line planes. I purchased some of these sailplane propellers, and the sailplane propeller configuration, you know, it looks okay, but here's the thing. The hinge is very, very far out, and so this hinge is not going to be close in enough to really give us the results we're really looking for. But this kind of construction where this hub mounts onto this collet is absolutely the way to build it. And this is a very, very pretty propeller. And this particular one I'd bought because I thought I would fly it. The problem is that this won't fit on the model that I have a motor that will run on the collet. My other motor is firewall mounted, and it won't use the collet to run it, so that one won't work. But anyway, the testing here is going to continue to progress. There's nothing here that's saying stop now and quit because you're drunk and disorderly. Seriously though, this is looking very, very promising at this point, and we will continue.